Wow. Well,
if there's a cringe compilation of my life, that'd definitely make at least one.
how was I supposed to know?
Well, in an unforgettable theater experience, I went to A Haunting in Venice with my dumbass brother. Aiden, what's the plot of A Haunting in Venice?
A Haunting in Venice is a sequel to Murder on the Orient Express and Death on the Nile, directed by Kenneth Branagh. Branagh. It's the third adaptation of a series of Agatha Christie novels that are related by the same character in the same vein as Sherlock Holmes. And Kenneth Branagh stars in the movies as the funny accent man with a mustache. In this one, he's retired in Venice when he's pulled to investigate a mystery that may involve ghosts and hauntings and a dead woman and spirits and ghosts and a psychic medium played by Michelle Yeoh. And he goes to Italy to investigate this odd circumstance and unravel the true identity of the killer. So Connor, what did you think of Haunting in Venice?
The Haunting in Venice was pretty mediocre. Thought it was boring. I thought it was predictable. The acting was okay. The cinematography was fine. I thought there were too many establishing shots. Every establishing shot was, well, it wasn't really an establishing shot so much as it was like six shots strung together, and then 3 or 4 minutes talking followed by 3 or 4 establishing shots. I thought that was a little corny. Not corny, it's just too much.
It's corny. It's corny.
I liked Michelle Yeoh in it. I mean, I liked most of the cast. Tina Fey was a little annoying, but I don't really like Tina Fey in general, so it's to be expected.
What did you think of Kenneth Branagh, director of Thor 1?
And the director of Jack Ryan Shadow Recruit, and he's directed a bunch of random movies where you're like, oh, I know that movie. This guy directed that?
Huh. He directed the bad Thor movie. The other bad Thor movie. Besides the new bad Thor movie.
Yeah. He didn't direct Thor 2. He just directed Thor 1, and then they passed it, and then they passed it.
No, but my joke was that he directed the first bad Thor movie.
The first of 3 bad Thor movies.
Yeah.
Yep, he did. Yeah, it is a pretty weak movie, honestly. I thought it was mostly boring. I thought the mystery was fucking about as deep as a Scooby-Doo episode. A lot of it didn't feel paid off when the mystery's finally revealed. It's like, oh, okay. That's what happens. It's clever. But when I watch something like Knives Out and Glass Onion, Rian Johnson's version of the Agatha Christie novel, I like it a lot more because, first off, it has levity. It also is star-studded, but there's usually a fun dynamic with the cast. There's no fun dynamic. It's just a bunch of famous people in a movie. And that's how... not really a bunch. It's like 4 or 5 character actors and 2 famous people.
This one definitely
2 famous
doesn't
guest
have
stars.
the pull that the last 2 did, because Murder on the Orient Express had, like...
Daisy Ridley
and Johnny Depp and some other people, and then Death on the Nile had Wonder Woman and etc.
But Michelle Yeoh is kind of in a renaissance right now with
a little bit
everything everywhere, and she's starting to. She's kind of getting. I'm not gonna say she's getting roles. Yeah, she kind of is just getting roles because of that. I'm not saying she's not talented, but I'm saying she's getting roles because of her in the West, because of her fame from that movie, which is fine. That's good. I respect it because I like Michelle Yeoh. So I'm not mad that she's showing up in shit. I'm just saying this is one of the first Western films she's showing up in because she's a hot actress right now.
Yep.
And then Tina Fey, kind of famous. No idea why she was cast in this movie.
She's fucking actually bad in this movie.
Kind of a random pick. A lot of the cinematography is pretty impressive. I've seen a few Kenneth Branagh movies, and I don't think his cinematography is ever particularly bad. But I have noticed the common theme that his movies are boring and unenthralling. I've only seen a couple of these Agatha Christie ones. I've seen his Thor. I think I've seen like 2 other films he's made, and I've consistently found his movies boring and uninspired. But he must hit some sort of niche. And he's a white dude, so he gets unlimited chances.
I think these movies kill in Britain and make like $1 million.
No, that's not true. The last one made like $130 mil off of a $90 million budget. But I don't think they do a ton.
Yeah, but that was a COVID movie, so they're like whatever.
Yeah,
and they don't do any advertising outside of like making a shitty drink for fucking AMC.
That's true. So, Aiden, what did you think of Haunting in Venice?
Haunting in Venice, I'm just gonna go down the list. Number 1, every establishing and transitory and like interstitial shot in this movie is fucking gorgeous, and every shot that has an actor in it is the most boringly shot thing you could possibly imagine. And it's kind of incredible that every time that there's no one on screen, the movie becomes interesting to look at and then becomes boring as hell. Second, I saw Murder on the Orient Express, but I did not see Death on the Nile. And in my brain, I had somehow decided that Johnny Depp was the main character of this franchise. And until like a week and a half ago when we talked about seeing this movie, I did not know otherwise. Second, I thought this was a generic ghost movie about like an exorcism, like The Haunting of Melissa McCarthy. Or like
The Haunting of Melissa McCarthy?
The Exorcism of
Emily Rose.
Marcus Finch or whatever. Or all those shits. All those generic shits. I thought this was one of those movies. So like I don't know how a regular person is supposed to realize this is connected to those other 2 movies, or if a regular person is supposed to recognize that and it's like a trick. I don't know. I didn't know until we booked our tickets that this was a sequel to the other 2. Yeah, number 4. I really like Sherlock Holmes books. I've read every Sherlock Holmes books, and I've read a couple Agatha Christie novels. I think these movies, from the 2 I've seen, I haven't seen Death on the Nile, kind of lack any sense of humor about themselves. They're not really amusing. And I think they're all trying to go for like a different style where they're like tense, and this one's supposed to be like tense and kind of like horror themed. But I think you need a slight bit of levity for a character who's like basically the smartest person in the world ever. Otherwise it gets kind of like dull, because there's no way you could solve this mystery on your own outside of like knowing that the person who did it would be the only person who wanted to. Because he's like, oh, she used a magic flower she found in Italy, and she used a magic flower from India to make the girl see ghosts, and then she jumped out the window and died of a heart attack, and then she like used a fork to put scratches on her back or something. And like you kind of need to either need to be much more in depth with the detective process, or you need to be a little bit more lighthearted to make it enjoyable. Anyway, I thought like the actual plot of the movie is kind of interesting. I think the final reveal is kind of lame, and I'm kind of sick of Kenneth Branagh and his vanity projects doing the silly voice. He also directed Thor, by the way, the first one.
I think we mentioned that about 4 times now.
But yeah, I think there's some version of an adaptation of this story that could work, but it would need either more levity or to be more focused on the mystery. And this is a little bit all over the place, a little bit too strictly adherent to the book. and the only creative elements of the movie are like interstitials and stuff that's not like actually fundamental to the story being told. So I like it, but I think it's a little bit mediocre. Anyway, I guess we should get into the post-movie.
No, it's not. I'll just say that it rocks me to my core and has created the most single embarrassing thing of my life. As some of you guys might know, I used to run the AMC, and it's the AMC that's right by our house. It's very local.
It is.
And to save a long story, I'll just put it this way: me and Aiden are no longer ever gonna go back to another AMC because it wasn't all that serious. There's no way they could ban us from AMC for it. But Aiden, just being Aiden and his personality, had done something so ungodly embarrassing, something you probably couldn't even fathom. It was bad. It was really terrible. And I had a good run with AMC. I started working there in 2019. I've been in A-list since 2018. I had a good run. I had some really fond memories of AMC. I ran one for a very long time, and it was a great time. And I think it was a good run, and I'm just I apologize to everybody that this affected. And time to throw in the towel. It's over.
Out of the 50 people who work at AMC, it had to be that one.
Yes. It's an unbelievable story. It'll probably get shared eventually on this channel.
I'm sure.
But it's too fresh. The wound's too fresh.
Anyway,
the wound's too fresh. There's people who know me.
Don't expect any drunk views anytime soon. I'm canceling my A-list.
We're canceling our A-list. We're going to Marcus Theaters and Shakopee.
Expendables canceled.
Yeah, I've canceled all reservations.
Canceled.
Yeah, don't expect any more drunk views. At least with me around, because maybe there'll be a hanging in my future, a self-lynching per se. Because it's so unbelievable that there's no... sometimes you realize how fickle life is. Does nothing matter? Does everything matter? It might have been a poor taste of joke.
To my credit.
To your credit? You're going to credit yourself on something? Credit. You can give yourself some credit?
I didn't realize that I picked the most awkward person to say that to.
Anyways, if anybody knows a good theater chain in Eden Prairie, Minnesota that's not AMC Eden Prairie 18, near or around, if you're a Minnesota local, please drop it in the comments below. Make sure it's not part of the AMC chain or any of its affiliates because I'm no longer allowed there. This is a voluntary self-exile after the most embarrassing moment of my entire life. The most awkward and cringe-inducing thing. And I didn't even do it. It was him. But I can't go back. I can't show my face again. One of those things where it's just so awkward you just can't show your face again.
I didn't know.
To save the specifics.
I was like fucking Mary taking the apple off the tree. I didn't know better.
Yeah.
I was like Ted Bundy putting that 15 kid in the back of his car and decapitating him. I didn't know any better.
Alright, well everybody, that was The Haunting of Venice. But we have to recommend it or not still. So Aiden, do you recommend The Haunting of Venice?
I don't know. I like mystery stories much more than the average person. And even I thought this was kind of dry. I think it needs something to spice it up. If you're super into mystery stories, it might satisfy a little bit of an itch, but I don't think this is the strongest mystery story, and I think it's incredibly dry in a lot of areas, including like shooting and like the way the plot unfolds. I don't know, you might be better just reading the original book that it's based on. I don't know if that plays better. I haven't read this specific one. I'm generally gonna give it a no. I think. Connor, would you recommend A Haunting in Venice?
No. It's just not that enthralling of a mystery. I don't know. It didn't grab me. And frankly, when a mystery doesn't grab you, it's fucking boring. I really liked like Glass Onion and Knives Out. Knives Out I watched for the first time extremely recently, like within the last month. And so I'm not a mystery hater. I don't automatically get bored with mysteries, but if it doesn't catch me, I'm not interested. So that was The
Haunting in Venice.
Haunting
and the
in
AMC
Venice.
Exile.
Yeah, well, maybe we'll be back with Expendables 4 if we're allowed to return to theater chains in our lifetimes. I might have to wear a disguise.
This may be the finale of Drunkview.
This might be this finale. Even though we didn't go to AMC most of the time, we were bootstrapping it without AMC for like most of Drunkview's history, or half of it. We're just gonna have to accept that AMC is no longer a valid place to go. It's not. It's terrible. What happened? It's shameful, really. It's a disgrace. It was a disgrace what you did. He's a fucking disgrace. And with that, everybody, good night.